Muslims downloaded a terrorist manual in our country. 50,000, not 10, not 20, 50,000.
So the first question is, where are we off to?
Where are we off to? We are currently just left Crewe. We went to Crewe to speak with a journalist who thought he was clever using a fake name to write articles which slander and lie and falsely accuse people. Obviously his fake name didn't stop us finding his address, and you'll see the full video from that when it comes out on Rebel. But he rang the police, he slammed the door shut, he rang the police. And where are we on to? So we're in Crewe, we're on the way home, but there's not going to be many hours because tomorrow morning, first thing, we're going to a court case. Another Muslim paedophile grooming gang court case.
There's a lot of questions, so we'll try and keep the answers within like 10 seconds. What do you think of a united Ireland? Do you think it'll ever happen?
No, I think so long as the people in Northern Ireland wish to remain British, then it's British. In fact, Ulster will always be British.
Did you get paid for joining Quilliam?
Yes, I did. So whatever Majid says is a lie. If you read my book, anyone who reads my book where you hear the truth was the police had me in a corner and in a position. They had my wife on charges, they had my family on charges, and for the first time in 5 years I made a decision that wasn't putting the English Defence League first, it was putting my wife and kids first. Unfortunately, when I went to jail in 2012, the police froze my assets for 4 years. They froze they closed my businesses, and when I was first arrested I had £40,000 in the bank. And by 4 years' time, I had no money left, all assets frozen, properties frozen, and they had me where they wanted me. And when I went to jail in 2012, there was donations from the donations coming from the English Defence League wouldn't have even paid my rent for a month. So I was going to jail. I was looking at 5 years. I knew I was going to jail, and I made a decision that would make sure that my children didn't have to move house for the 4th time in 4 years.
Who will you be voting for in the snap election?
Theresa May.
And who do you think will win the French election?
I want Marie Le Pen to win, but I hope she does. I hope I'm wrong, but
do you think the UK will sort the problem with Islam in the next 10 years?
I think they'll have to, or it'll be Islamic. So I think that when I used to say when it started, in 30 years' time, this will be happening. It's not going to be 30 years. It is not going to be 30 years. I think it's going to be in the next 5 years. It's all going to come to a head.
Is it going to be another UK Pegida March?
When I started Pegida UK, I felt that the UK needed it. When I went and visited Germany and saw tens of thousands of people, in fact, we're going back out to Dresden for anyone who wants to join us. We're going back out to Dresden to do a report for Rebel. They're still getting tens of thousands, 10,000 last Monday. They protest every Monday. When I saw the behaviour and the way they were doing it, I thought England needed that, Britain needed that. But to do that in the right place, we had to go into the middle of nowhere, because otherwise it just turns into running street battles. So I didn't want to lead it. I said that from the start. I put 2 people in. I asked 2 people to lead it. And for the first demonstration, I was left to do everything. And I simply said that I can't commit to that. I can't commit to... When I led the English Defence League, I led it because it took over my life. People may say you was a good leader to DDL, but I was a good leader because I was a shit dad and shit husband at the time. So...
Do you have any beef still with Britain First?
Do I have any beef still with Britain First? My beef originally was with Jim Dawson, because he's a grass. Jim, if you're watching this, you're a wrong one, mate. An absolute snake. Jim Dawson uses patriotic movements to fund a lifestyle and a business, and that wound me up. And I found out Jim was working for Hope Not Hate, fact. He sold an article to Hope Not Hate about me, fact. So that was my problem. At the same time, I've had differences of agreement with politics. No one will agree with everyone's politics. Do you know what I mean?
Can we deport all Remain supporters?
Well, they want to be part of Europe, go to Europe. If you love it that much. So, yeah.
Do you always drive in the fast lane?
I'm not breaking the law. I'm abiding by the speed limit.
What do you think of Paul Nuttall?
What do I think of Paul Nuttall? I like Paul Nuttall. until I heard that he went to a mosque and begged for votes and for the Stoke election. Until I saw a leaflet that they were handing out in the Stoke. I don't know who's advising him. Until I saw a leaflet in the Stoke election that was basically promising we will not ban halal. Cringe. I think today their announcement's better. It's UKIP, the way I see it, you're never going to be a party that gets into power to govern the country. But what they need to do is take votes from the Conservatives, so the Conservatives are pushed on certain policies. That's it. So to do that, you need to be whether it be extreme or just. Don't sit on the fence. The majority of people in UKIP have had enough of Islam. The majority of people who vote for UKIP, who support UKIP, don't want Islam to grow and dominate our country. So just tell the truth. That's what you think. That's what you should be saying you think. Cut the bullshit. That's it. Now, because people see them as an answer. They see, at times like this, you need strong leadership. You need someone to just come out and say the Quran is a book of hate. That's a fact. We don't want Islam to dominate our country. We need to stop Islam. That's what I think their campaign slogan should be. Stop Islam. Same as Gert Wilders was.
Here's from Mitch Rassa. Why are you such a racist? It's not the majority, it's only a few. You clearly point out the Prophet Muhammad slept with a 9-year-old. Why don't you pick on Jews? Their Bible is full of incest.
What's his name?
It's gone really far back.
Was it Mitch? Mitch, wasn't it?
Mitch, yeah.
So Mitch, why am I such a racist? I never speak about race. In fact, the genuine racists in the UK hate and despise me. I'm known as a race traitor. So on one side I'm a race traitor and Zionist, multiculturalist. On the other side, dickheads like you continually call me a racist with no justification. The bloke's door I just knocked at, there's no justification. All the people who call me that, what I find funny, whenever I've had this opportunity where people have said it, their group of friends or their life is exclusively white. Mine's not. Many of my best friends who are like my family, who I love, are not white. They're not white. And why do I talk about Mohammed sleeping with a 9-year-old? Because people, they believe everything he did was perfect. Everything he did was perfect. Perfect. Sleeping with a 9-year-old perfect? No, it's not. It's disgusting and backward. And no matter when that is in history, it's disgusting and backward. Yeah, but it was different back then. No, a 9-year-old's a 9-year-old. It's a little girl, it's a child. Aisha, when he took her as his wife, she still had her doll. She still had her doll. It's in the hadiths. She still had her doll. Sicko.
What do you think of firearms in the UK? Do you think we should have a similar legislation to America?
When counter-terrorism police come to my house at 4 o'clock in the morning, they come to tell me that I've been named on Al-Shabaab's list to be killed at all costs. And at the bottom of the note, they said you cannot break the law to get weapons, basically to protect yourself, and basically guard your house. Yeah. So put my key lock on. You know what I mean? Al-Shabaab are coming to want to kill you. If Muslims want to come to my house and kill me, I've done nothing wrong. Yeah. I should be free to protect my family and my home, but I'm not. So for that reason, personally, for my own personal experience and reason, I'd feel a lot safer sleeping at night. I'd feel like I could protect my family the way I should be able to if I was allowed to legally hold a firearm.
With Ramonas and Sinn Féin using Brexit to scaremonger and push for a border patrol, where do you stand on the constitutional position of Northern Ireland?
I don't know what you mean.
I have no idea what he means either.
Is it snowing? It looks like it's snowing.
Why do you think our politicians are so scared to criticise Islam?
Has anyone seen a video of me walking through Luton? Maybe they don't like getting punched in the face. Maybe they quite like sleeping at night without the fear of someone coming through their front door to shoot them or butcher them or cut their head off. Don't blame them for being scared.
Tommy English says, what do you think of Peter Satchell?
I think he's a paedophile. I think that when I've read his previous quotes about adult men having sex relationships with children, I think Peter Thatcher's a coward. I think that he claims to represent his community, the LGBT community, and he's a coward because he doesn't talk about Islam. He won't talk about Islam. The biggest threat, you know, the biggest butcher and killing in history of gay people, in history, was the Orlando shooting. In history. It's not Nazis, it's not any other fascists, it's a Muslim.
What do you think of our unelected Prime Minister, Theresa Prattface?
I like her.
country to look like in 20 years?
Islamabad.
What can be done to educate the population about radical Islam?
That is the key. The key is education. Unfortunately, while we're trying to educate them and make people aware, the education system from the government is lying to them. It's brainwashing a generation of children to believe that jihad means struggle, that Islam is peace.
What's your favourite curry?
Korma.
How bad do you think?
And I love it, man. Like, chicken korma plain rice and chips. It's not actually a curry, is it? It's not without it. Yeah. This is actually passing the time quite better than.
It's pretty good. Will you be visiting America anytime soon?
I wish I would be. Yeah. I wish I could, but I don't think I can. Because if you know anything, then you know that I illegally entered America in 2012, and I spent 10 months in prison for doing so. But even at the time, just to justify why I did that, I went with a warning to America. A warning to America on what's going to happen, because what's happening here is going to happen there. So I knew full well at the time I was risking prison doing it. But to be honest, at the time of leading the English Defence League, you had to be prepared to do two things: get killed or go to prison. What do we used to say? Death, prison or glory? And glory's on its way.
So, JB Cass says, I work for a fish, full stop, but I think he meant, I work for a fish and chip shop and a Muslim owns it, and I was cooking chicken breast and I had to go to the freezer and I saw halal in the freezer, so I quit my job.
Well done, JB. was it a good fish and chip shop? You saw halal, just saw what a sign that said halal, just saw halal in the fridge.
What do you think about Christianity?
What do I think about Christianity? I think it has weak, cowardly leadership in the UK. I think that our culture and our history is important. 1,000 years of history in the UK, in England, is important. I think that I'm not incredibly. I don't know. I hate the church leadership. I hate them. I think they're cowards. I think they're sellouts. I think they're part of the problem. The destruction of Christianity. What's happening? I think the Christians are being persecuted worldwide, and they should be spoken up for. But so many people are so eager to criticise Christianity whilst giving Islam a free pass, when comparing the two is just ridiculous.
What do you think will happen? Mark says, what do you think will happen if Corbyn gets in at number 10?
It's not going to happen, is it? It's never going to happen.
He said he thinks he'll be in jail within weeks.
Who, Corbyn would?
No, you.
Oh, I would.
You're in jail within weeks. Do you think so?
I think I'll probably be getting thrown. You two will be getting thrown. If Jeremy Corbyn gets in, you two are going to be getting thrown off a rooftop within weeks. And yeah, I'll probably be getting sentenced under Sharia somehow.
Are you not bored of wearing Stone Island? Now all the chaps are wearing it.
I'm actually wearing a CP company jacket, Milli Miglia. I had this about 7 years ago. Still looks right, doesn't it? But
Sick. Do you think over the years this current situation will descend into a civil war?
yes, utterly. Unfortunately. Unfortunately, at some point. If any of you want to go to Bradford riots, look on the Bradford riots from 2001. Watch the videos. Watch the videos. And they did that at that time, and they've been held back, I think, since. But when it does go, when it does happen, it's going to spill into the streets of every European city.
Ben Westwick says, who is this boy you roll with now? What has he done that's any good? Right.
Well, which boy?
That's not me.
Is that me?
Tommy's got multiple voices.
Go on, Caelan, talk.
What have I actually done that's good?
This is Caelan. I met Caelan. I went to do an interview for the New Brit, and I was doing my videos for Rebel Media, which if you watch the first two were terrible, because I'm not computer savvy. I can hardly turn a computer on. I went to do an interview with Caelan and George, and they offered to help me at the time. They offered to help me for free. They offered to help me and support me, and the next few videos were a hell of a lot better. So that's when we began talking, and then I was actually at Caelan's doing a video warning about Islam, ironically, when Khalid Massoud decided to drive over loads of people in Westminster. So we was there, and that's when many people would have first seen Caelan. I've seen some of his responses to videos, which I think perfect humour to belittle Antifa, and yeah, that's it. And now we're going over there. I don't know. We're going to be seeing a lot more of us.
Yeah, right.
gone the wrong way. I'm going the wrong way up the fucking tower.
I'm going the wrong way.
Holy fuck.
One sec. Who are politicians trying to please when they defend Islam? That's from David.
That's what I try to get. Like, it depends what town. So, like Gavin Suker, for example. Gavin Suker's my local MP. This is how ridiculous it is. Gavin Suker held a Celebrate Prophet Muhammad Day at Parliament. Yeah. So I saw Gavin Suker in a chicken shop in Luton. Any of you ever been to Luton? The chicken shop's called Chicken George. It got voted the best chicken shop in the UK. The best takeaway in the UK. It's unbelievable. Man. So anyway, back to... So I see him in there, and I hadn't seen Gavin Suker since the start of the EDL. All he ever done was stood on TV, and he tried to take the moral high ground. He'd stand there and he'd say, well, I'm the same age as Tommy, I'm from the same town, but I didn't go down the life of crime. It's like, no, Gavin, you went down the life of fucking kissing arse to Islam. Yeah. But so, when I see him in the chicken shop, I said, Gavin, can we have a word? It's the first time I've seen him. So we've gone outside, and I said, you held a Celebrate Prophet Muhammad Day in Parliament, didn't you? And he went, yeah. I said, tell me what you know about Muhammad. And he just looked at me, and I went, well, come on, talk to me about Muhammad's life. Just tell me about his life. He went, I know Muslims respect him. I said, so you held a Celebrate Muhammad Day because many Muslims respect him. I said, there's quite a lot of people out there who respect Hitler. Why don't you hold a Celebrate Hitler Day? You know what I mean? I said, so what? You don't actually know anything about Muhammad then? Oh, fuck. Oh, no. So when I started talking to him, I said, did you know that he beheaded 600 people? Did you know that he had 7 poets killed for their free speech? Did you know that he tortured a man called Kanana for his gold? And I started listening to all these things that surely you find disgusting and morally bankrupt as an individual. And he just didn't know anything. I said, so you're holding a Celebrate Muhammad Day without knowing anything about the man? It's just pure ignorance, pure ignorance. And so that's what I think of politicians. I just think they're ridiculous, ignorance. And another funny thing, so Gavin Suker always goes on about how much of a Christian he is, and I'm a Christian, and he goes on about his church. What he doesn't realise is I met the minister, the leader of his whole church, to have a meeting. And the leader of his whole church gave me a book, and the book was called Unmasking Satan. When he gave me the book, he said, Satan is Islam. So Gavin Suker it just winds me up, the whole thing winds me up.
What do you think of the Madeleine McCann case?
Do you know what? That always really... I remember where I was actually in Dubai, of all places, in a Muslim country at the time, when she went missing. And I don't know, it would haunt you, wouldn't it? It would haunt you. People go on about the parents. I think if the parents weren't middle class and weren't educated, they'd have been slammed for what they did. Like, I go away with my kids, even the kids out in the garden, they're not out of my eyes. I would not let my kids out of my eyes. Yeah? So I think what the parents did is wrong. They've sort of been punished for that for the rest of their life. In a sort of, I could not even begin to imagine what it must be like for them, or for any parent who's ever lost a child and not having any closure on whether they're alive, where they are. I don't know, what was I reading today? That MI5 hid the body. Did you read that? MI5? Some coppers come out, it's all in today's newspapers or something. I don't know, I just wish more than anything that she was found, or she would be found.
Charles says, what do you think of Uber?
I hate Uber. And it winds me up. So anyone... I had a taxi the other day in London, a black cab, and he was... You know how emotional he got telling me the story of what he used to earn, what he's earning now, that Uber, what did he say, 100,000 of them in London? 20,000 black cabs, I think he said. So that obviously you can imagine how much of their trade's gone down. And then he went into, so one of the top politicians who's now getting, what's his name, George Osborne, who's now getting £500,000 a year to apparently work one day for some top company. There's been an expose on this. I was thinking about doing a video about it after speaking to him. And he's the one who passed legislation or said we won't confront Uber. So after the government, working for the government and not trying to stop it or something, he's then getting £500,000 for one day a week as a consultant. And Uber is basically, I don't know what it's like to you in other countries, it might be different, but if you get a taxi in Uber in London, it's a Somalian, yeah, who can't speak English, pretty much most of the time, who have come in and they've took a really trade skill that takes 3 years to learn, and predominantly it's a white working class trade in London, and I think it's wrong that their whole livelihood's been turned upside down for a cheap immigrant import of I don't know. After having it explained by this taxi driver, it really felt so bad for them. what's happened. And I know people say, yeah, there's, I don't know, I've heard like the other argument to it, but my problem is the amount of sexual assaults that we've seen by Uber drivers in the UK, the amount of crime we've seen by Uber drivers in the UK, in London. All the Uber drivers in the UK are Muslim immigrants. I'd always rather pay more and get a black cab.
If you could start a political party in the UK, what would you call it, from Paul?
No idea.
Media.
Yeah,
Media.
English Democracy League. Just so we can still play the old EDL songs now.
This is the question that like 50 people have asked so far. What is your honest opinion of how the UK will be in 20 years? Are we too far gone?
Well, something drastic's going to happen. It's going to get really bad. But are we too far gone? 5%, according to census, which I predict is probably a little bit more. Only 5% of our country is Muslim. We're not too far gone to solve this. But to solve it, there's going to be a hell of a huge struggle. Does anyone want that? Do you know what I mean? So why are people burying their head in the sand because they have no answer? Are our politicians sitting there thinking, well, we've got 3 or 4 million Muslims. They're not going to integrate or assimilate. A certain percentage of them, or roughly 1 million of them, are going to want to impose Sharia law, which is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Terrorism's getting worse and worse. What do we do? That's the real question. What do we do? So so no one knows what to do. So if we're not knowing what to do, what we'll do is just pretend that things are right. Just keep going on with time. But that ain't going to help us at all, because we're going to get to a demographical change where, especially when you look at the age group, by the amount of Muslim children there's coming, where there will be a huge force by then across Europe.
Scott Gibson says, are you religious or are you atheist?
No, I'm not religious.
Have you ever been?
I was brought up, I used to go to church quite a lot actually when I was younger with my parents. I'll tell you the truth, I was brought up a Catholic, I christened my kids a Catholic. I wish I didn't. I christened my kids a Catholic for my mum. My mum's a devout Catholic. I'm not. I think the Catholic Church and what they're allowed to happen is disgusting and sickening.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm not. That's it. I'm not. Neither are my children.
So Adam Scott, who I think I know, says, what do you think it will take for the government to realise that a good proportion of Muslims hold ideas that are inherently anti-liberal, according...
I think that a good proportion of politicians already know that. You've got to be a proper idiot to not realise what's happening. You know? Like, even look at Trevor Phillips. Trevor Phillips, a man that termed the phrase Islamophobia in Britain, has now realised that he's fucked up. He's now realised, I think that on that census it was 60%, was it 66% of British Muslims would not report on a fellow Muslim who was going to join ISIS. 66%, you know. 2/3 of them. That's not a small number. Yeah? That 26% wanted Sharia law. That's not a small number. 6% believe suicide bombings were justified. Oh, it's only 6%. No, that's about 200,000-300,000 people. It's not a small number either. Or when you look at all these statistics and facts and figures, it's really alarming. And you've got to be right. They have to know. They have to realise.
So, Gordon...
Pressing conversation, this, isn't it?
As well, everything considered pressing here.
I know, yeah.
What should be
You all
done?
might as well lock your doors and hide because the future's terrible.
What should be done with Islamic extremists that are under surveillance but are yet left to roam the streets?
They should be interned into military prisons because they are foreign combatants of a foreign enemy. When we were at war with Germany, you wouldn't allow Germans to walk around the streets just pretending they're peaceful. If we know these people have signed up to an ideology that wishes to go to war with us, they are foreign enemy combatants. We are at war. Whether people want to admit that or not, we're at war. Can't let them just keep walking the streets, waiting and waiting and waiting. Every time, like, imagine one of your family members got killed. Even last week. Imagine one of your family members got killed by one of these men that they know is a terrorist. A lot of them have been in jail already for extremism. And we've just waited and then they've killed your family. Your job is to protect us, the law-abiding citizens, the English people, the British people. Not to worry about the human rights of some absolute scumbag terrorist who would behead you like that.
Leo says, are you worried that one day some crazy Muslim will take you out?
Yeah, as long as he's not a 7-stone dribbly little mess from Pakistan, then I'll be a bit guarded about that. But no, I sort of accepted that reality a long time ago. So, and I always think what I'd do if I was them, I'd try and weigh it up like that, and it's not thinking like, it's just being genuine. I think for the first couple of years, I'd struggled to deal with that. I did struggle to deal with that. I felt I was walking around with terminal illness, and I struggled to deal with the reality that at some point one of these is going to get me, and that come from even when the police are sitting there, we've arrested them with guns, bombs, they're going to kill you time and time again. This. I just accept and think at some point, and I haven't changed my life. So anyone knows, if you live in Luton, I walk through the town every day. I go football every week. I'm not going to change my life or start hiding and running to live in fear from a load of beardy weirdies in their pyjamas who want to go on a fucking jihad.
David Hogg says, what can be done to stop radicalisation in UK prison?
Stop religion, stop Islam in prison. If David Cameron, as all our political leaders tell us, it's a perverted form of Islam, they're not Muslims. Okay, well, they're not Muslims, don't give them halal meat, don't give them a fucking Quran, don't allow them to go mosque if they're not Muslims. But you do, don't you? First thing you do when you get in there, they get their Quran, they get their halal meat, they get everything. When they go to jail, they're living a completely halal life, it's perfect for them. They're not like us, they don't miss women, they don't miss beer, they don't miss all the joys of life. They don't have any joys of life.
Anthony Harper says he's about to buy your book on Amazon, and he wants to know if you get the same proceeds from the Kindle edition and the paperback edition.
I do, yeah, I do. And anyone who's bought my book, thank you, because it's gone. Do you know, like for me, as a feeling, people would say, I hear it all the time, most hated man, you lads spend time with me, what sort of reception do I get in the street? Incredible. From everywhere I go. Incredible. That's it, from everywhere we're going to put a video together just to show people, like, it's just bullshit, but that's not always the way it's been. So you have to realise that 8 years ago, people thought what I said was extreme. They thought I was an extremist. They've now realised that what I was saying was true. And it's a good feeling for me. It's a very satisfactory feeling knowing that my book, when I wrote my book, it wasn't, when I even typed it wasn't a thing that I wrote thinking about money, yeah? When I wrote it, I thought about my children picking it up, yeah? Because I thought at some point I'm going to get killed. And I want my children to know the story. I want them to know why their dad did what they did, why he made the decisions he made, and the reasons for doing it. And that's what my book was. It's a justification and a story and the truth and the evidence, which anyone can check up, of why and what genuinely happened. Because a lot of people would have seen me leaving the EDL. I have a huge regret about the way I left the EDL. I do. And at the time, when you see a documentary that's going to be coming out, we have 4 or 5 years worth of footage of everything I've ever done and everywhere I've ever been, from the day I walked into prison to the day I walked out of prison, all recorded. Yeah? And it's going to be put into a documentary with the ending of what's happening currently. And when you see the footage, it was something that was the most difficult decision of my life. I know there's footage of me sitting there crying my eyes out like a little baby after leaving the EDL, because the EDL was my life. It was my life, and I felt so attached to the people in that movement that it was so difficult to do. But it was what I had to do. And yeah, so the book really tells the story of that. It tells the full story of what the police have done and the pressure and what's gone on. So I think anyone reading the book, I say, well, you look at what I did, the decisions I made, and I think half the people even now, some people slag me. I think you'd last 10 minutes in my shoes. You'd last 10 minutes in my shoes. And that's not me saying anything. They'd last 10 minutes. They'd last 10 minutes walking in my shoes.
Dave says, where should we get our unbiased news from, as we can no longer believe the BBC or any other mainstream media?
Rebel Media, from me.
Of course.
No, if I look for the news, I look for Infowars. I look for Paul Joseph Watson. I look for his take every time. I always watch every time. So whenever there's a terrorist attack, I just wait 3 or 4 days for the truth about Paris. The truth every time, and then I watch him dissect, and every time he nails it. He nails it, and everything I'm thinking is put there into one video and at the same time with a British humorous way about things, about pushing the point. So yeah, I looked to that, and I was always looking to Rebel as well. Finally now, I'm realising that I found a niche that I wish we'd have realised and thought about years ago, where when anything's happening, we have the opportunity to pick that up and give our own event and give our own media story to it. And so the mainstream media, they're finished, I think. They're going down, and the new media are coming in. And that is a sense that so many people want to hear the truth. There's so many things the media won't say or journalists won't say because they can't. we can. That's why it's refreshing. It's refreshing to people hear people when the people hear journalists talk or people talk, where they can generally, truthfully, just say what they think. They can say what's happened, and yeah.
So James Whitrow says, how do you deal with all the hate towards you?
I thrive off it. No, I don't. I'm used to it. I'm completely and utterly used to it now. So and that's again, that comes with time. Reading something that still really grips me. If I read someone saying something, which I've read many times, talking about my children and cutting my kids' heads off, no matter who you are, reading things like that, comments like that, that angers me, frustrates me, upsets me. But I've come to, now I belittle. I don't get angry about what anyone says. I'll tell you a funny one. So yesterday I was on Westminster Bridge the other day, and this is one of the best ones anyone's ever done to me. Yeah? This bloke's come up with a camera. He said, "Can I just quickly get a picture?" I said, "Yeah, sound mate." And he's pressed record, and we're both looking at it, and I'm smiling. He's gone, "You're such a cunt." I was like, that's the best thing anyone's done, and I find it humorous. And many of if people, Tommy Nobinson, when I first read that, I was chuckling away. So a lot of the things, I think if they think they're winding me up, I'm chuckling along with them every time. The jokes about me, the jokes about all the things, yeah, I don't mind them, man. But the genuine hate, I think that now what I'll do is, when I find it, if I read it, I'm going to come knock on your door.
Darrell Gardner says, how do you hold yourself together when fronted with all the dirty pedos outside the courts?
What have I said to you, Caelan, about from that day when I was afterwards? I should have knocked him out. I should have knocked him out.
Yeah.
I should have knocked him out. And that's the part of me telling me that 6 years ago I'd have knocked him out the minute I see one. So, but that doesn't. What I'd say now is I think no, actually I don't want to say I'll be letting people down if I did that, because I probably fucking wouldn't. I'd be fucking. But at the same time, I've had to change completely myself, who I am. When I hear people say, "Oh, you were this, you were that," I think I'd have acted so differently on many subjects like 8 years ago, compared to how I act now. I'm calm now.
Yeah.
I'm calm. I'm not violent. In fact, I'm the opposite. I've tried to avoid. I guess that comes with growing up and getting older,
Adam
not
Scott's got a good question.
being so hot-headed. Yeah.
How do we deal with racists within our movement that delegitimize our messages?
You can say,
But this is the same. So the way it went with the EDL, what we had to do in the EDL was the only language I understood was that, and that's where it had to get to with the EDL. And that's why it's such a hard thing to do, is organise a street movement where anyone can turn up, because you get people hiding with their own agendas in the movement. Fortunately, whatever I do, racists, Nazis, they hate me. They fucking proper hate me. I've had running after running. I've had them. I remember making videos years ago, saying like, I'm short, I'm fat, I'm 5'6", I'm a little fat white kid in Luton. If you've got a problem, come down to Luton. And I remember being out on a night out in London. I got a phone call from a landlord of Luton's main football pub saying, there's a bloke in here. The geezer, his name was Stevie Carroll, yeah. He travelled from Newcastle. He's one of these he was part of the North East Infidels. He travelled from Newcastle for a toe-to-toe with me. And I walked in the pub, and when I got to the pub, I walked in the pub, and I've gone, where is he? And he's coming, and then he goes, I've calmed down a bit now, I've got down here. So and I said, no, mate. If you've calmed down, I said, let's go out the back of the pub. And we went out the back of the pub and just swung it out. Yeah, that was the first Nazi that calmed down, and I've had more respect for him in that sense, because all these other ones, all the time, say, oh, we're going to kill you, we're going to do this. I'm not hard to find, am I? And I'm not hiding from anyone. I'm just a little fat kid in Luton. But yeah, so I don't know how you deal with them, really. I don't understand them because of my upbringing.
Carolina has said, I remember seeing your videos about a year ago, and no one was saying what you were saying back then. Do you feel optimistic about knowing that more people are sharing your thoughts nowadays?
Yeah, completely. You know, it was quite a lonely place for a few years. It was me and my cousin Kev, and we were like this, glued together, and it seemed to be pretty much for years just us. And now look how many people there are who are speaking out. Look how many people there are, organisations that are cropping up across the globe, everywhere, that are saying and agreeing and speaking out. Even politicians, political figures, non-existent years ago. So yeah, it feels good. It feels optimistic that so many more people are awake, and it feels good to know that any part we could have played, or we did play in bringing that about.
What do you think of Sadiq Khan?
Sadiq Khan, do you know what? I watched a video of him the other day. Yeah. So the Sikh community have got a religious festival. Jesus, it's Saturday, 29th of April, is that it?
Yeah.
It's on Saturday. What are we doing Saturday? We're going to Sunderland.
We're going to Sunderland.
We might have to split, because there's a religious festival in Trafalgar Square, I believe, and the Sikh community are being told now by a Muslim mayor what they must have and what they must do on their religious festival. So I watched a video where one of the Sikh gentlemen, the mayor was there, and he said to him, here's basically from our community, you've got to watch this video, you've got to see this video, it's awful. Here's a letter from our community when we're not happy with what's happening. And he gives it to him, and the mayor says, give it to her. And he just, give it to her, like, all arrogant, give it to her. Yeah? And he says, and the Sikh bloke goes, no, I want to give it to you. Yeah? And he gives it, he puts that, and he just grabs it, like proper screw face, and he gives it that, and looks at him. And that's the mayor. He probably didn't realise he's on camera. The arrogance and hatred in his face, Sadiq Khan's. You've got, so I said to you, this is what, the Sikh community, I want to do an interview with them about about it. And the first thing that mayor done when he got into power was stop the billboards that are showing any skin, how Sharia driven of you. I'm hearing now that he wants to put female-only carriages on the trains, and the reason he's using is sexual harassment of the women. So basically you want to split men and women. Well, where have we seen that before? Oh, it's Islamic, is it? All of these things that the mayor today was at a conference about hate crime, and we must stop online hate. How about you stop people cutting genitals off kids in the name of Islam? How about you do that? How about you have big conferences about that, Sadiq? How about you? So yeah, I just get frustrated with him. I think that when you, in fact, when I was in jail, I was in Winchester prison, I walked out my cell, who did I walk into? Sadiq Khan.
Oh my God.
I went, you? And he's looked at me, he went, oh. I said, what are you doing here? And he goes, and then I told him, I said, do you know what it's like in these prisons? Do you know what's going on in these prisons with the followers of your religion? Do you know what they're doing in these prisons? And then he went on about, he goes, I saw you when you left the deal with Majid. He said, I was Majid's friend and lawyer when Majid was an extremist. Yeah? Of course.
He's friends with all the extremists.
He was friend when I started going back with the mayor thing, because this was before he was mayor. At this time, he was shadow prison governor or whatever. He was in charge. He was the Labour representative for the prisons.
Yeah.
That's why he was in the prison, walking around the prisons. So when I got out, if you look into him, anyone can look into him. Looked at all of his cases. Who did he try and get into the UK? He tried to get a Muslim into the UK who had made comments about how white people have all got the devil in them. Was it Farrakhan? What was his name? Anyway, yeah. Anyway, as you can gather, I don't respect Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
And everyone's celebrating, we should celebrate the diversity. It's great, look, Sadiq Khan, the Muslims got in power in London. Well, that's because all the Muslims are in London and everyone else is running away from it. And all the liberal elite idiots are buying his bullshit.
What do you think of Jehovah's Witnesses?
I don't know anything really about Jehovah's Witnesses. I know one man that used to be an absolute lunatic, armed robber in Luton. He went to prison, he come out of Jehovah's Witness. I was working on his house years ago and I weren't allowed to swear, that's all I know.
Do you believe in meme magic?
Yes, I do. We've got a great meme, we'll see it later.
I believe in meme magic.
What is meme magic?
Meme magic, have I sent you any of this stuff? About Keck, about...
No, I don't know anything about meme magic.
Meme magic. It's basically
Are you
what
talking about
Trump
memes?
collected. Not like normie memes. I'll show you later. Like, yeah. Let me see what else there is here. Should we build a wall to keep out Remain supporters?
Yeah, just build it around the M25.
On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being total control,
I thought I was going to say, what do I rate myself? It's just a private joke in a quick message I was usually in. Yeah, go on.
How far do you think Islamists have reached in gaining control and domination in the UK government?
Oh, huge. So, I'll run through this story. So, there's an imam in Luton called Qadir Bask. He's a Salafist imam. When I was on a documentary in 2010 with him called Proud and Prejudiced, I sat with the documentary makers. I gave them translations from his mosque website. I gave him the translations that said we should execute homosexuals and an 8-page justification for why women should be lashed. Yeah? I gave the producer, because they were going to meet Kadir Bask. The lad was gay, yeah, who was filming me, yeah. So I gave them all this stuff to challenge it. And when the documentary came out, it introduced Kadir Bask as moderate imam, yeah, and it was trying to paint me as an extremist. Now, years later, when I've left the EDL, I keep my eye on this mosque and this Salafist centre. The Stockholm bomber went there. When the Stockholm bomber went there, the imam said that we confronted him, yeah, for his extremism. Well, at that time, that mosque was receiving money from the Prevent scheme, and their job, when they were receiving that money, was to report any radical Muslims. Well, they didn't report him, and he went and blew himself up. I also saw time and time again Muslims that had committed terrorism from that mosque. I know local Muslims, decent lads in the town, who tell me that mosque is the problem, so I knew the score. Guess who Khalid Massoud, the Westminster attacker, guess who was his boss when he was in Luton? Kadir Bask, Luton Islamic Centre leader. When Kadir was on the radio in Luton, this is 2014, 13, I walked in the radio, he's on my local radio talking about me. So I walked in and said, let me ask you some questions now. And I put it on him, and I started asking him about his ideal Britain, what his ideal Britain would look like. And I managed to get him to admit that in his ideal Britain, we'd execute homosexuals. This is the moderate imam, you know, the calm geezer. So then from that interview, Ofsted, because of that interview, raided the school that he was a head teacher at. When they raided the school, they found books in the children's library teaching them how to cut off hands and feet. Yeah? So then I find out, this is when it gets really, this is how deeply they've infiltrated everything. Guess who trains our politicians? So guess who trains our police? There's a picture, a funny picture, well, it's not funny actually, it's a fucking alarm. There's a picture of Luton police officer standing with Kadir Bask holding a sign that says, better together, stronger together. Yeah? Stronger together, and it's got diversity underneath it. This is a bloke who wants to throw gay people off rooftops. This is a bloke who thinks we should be stoning women. This is a bloke, so what's come out now, what's just come out now, is that because of Khalid Massoud, and again, we broke this, yeah, not the mainstream media. I told them this. We told them the connection to this in Luton. And then there was a report, and I sat down with James Dellingpole, and I told James all of this. And he put it in his latest article saying, well, when I saw that break a week later in the national newspapers, Tommy told me that the week before, yeah? But Joe, why we know? Because we live there. It's our town. I know everything about them. I know people there. One of my best friends converted to that mosque. He converted in jail. That's the mosque he goes to. My other friend's children go to the madrasa at that mosque. My friend I grew up with. Yeah, we know everything about him. So he's the imam. He actually is teaching. He's teaching for a company called Scott's Associates. He's teaching our government. He's teaching our school teachers about Islam. He's going as part of a Home Office approved scheme. Do you know what he said in one of the sermons that the Times newspaper just exposed him for? That we must prepare our weapons for the battle against the kuffar in the UK. He's training our government, he's training our police for the Home Office. You could not make this shit up. And that's why I get deeply frustrated, because when you know all this is going on, and then you're told, this imam is part of Luton's Council of Faiths, so the leaders of all the churches go and sit with him and have cups of tea with him. You're sitting with the enemy. You're sitting with a man that wants us all, and the name of his mosque even, this is another one. The name of his mosque is called Luton Islamic Centre. If you Google Luton Islamic Centre, you'll find the real Islamic name for it, which is Ghuraba. Ghuraba comes from, well, I can't say it probably, but that word comes from a hadith. And it is the Islamic men that come in to convert and take over the country. That's what it's called. It's just all like, when you put it all together, it's just like, it's madness. It's absolute madness. And this is happening across the country. I know another decent Muslim that I met over the years, Haras Fahiki. In fact, he's one of the best, I'd say he's one of the best vocal voices against extremism in the UK. A real nice man. I met his family, a real decent family. Yeah? And obviously I've said things, look, I know how it works. I say things that probably offend him. Yeah? But if they're the truth, they're the truth. That doesn't take it away from the fact that when I met him, I thought he was a lovely gentleman.
What do you think of the EDL now?
Well, I think of the EDL now, it's a difficult one. I think that as an organisation, you need to realise when, if you're not attracting people and you're not connecting with people and you're not reaching people, you have to ask yourself why. And if turning up and getting pissed out of your head, which not all of them are doing, Look, I'm not going to lie, I'm not going to be a hypocrite either, because I was one of the people at 8 o'clock in the morning on a demo day would get on the piss like it's a football game, day out. We have to, and in those days it was, and it worked. Yeah, as a social movement, it worked. It done its cause. You have to start realising that it's a bit bigger than that. It's bigger than a day out. It's bigger than getting drunk. It's a lot more serious than that. And that's what only advice I'd give to the EDL. You need to, I think, get a bit more serious.
Harry says
still got a lot of,
so Harry says Hitler would have loved you. How does that make you feel?
Hitler would have loved me. Would he? Why would Hitler love me?
That's all he said.
If I was alive at the time of Hitler, I'd been one of the first people running in the trenches to start killing his men. I don't think he'd have loved me. In fact, when you say Hitler would love me, Hitler admired Muhammad. In fact, that's one of his quotes, is that we should have had Islam. He had SS divisions of Muslims to kill Jews. And Hitler would have admired someone who thinks he's a fucking knob. Shit question. Shit bloke.
How would you answer the Jewish question?
What is the Jewish question?
The JQ.
What is the JQ?
The big
I'll tell you,
JQ.
I'll tell you my experience. So, guess what? We're back to Kadir Bask. So, Kadir Bask is the Imam from Luton Islamic Centre. Well, guess what the Islamic Centre used to be? It used to be the synagogue. Until they were driven out and forced out of the town. I remember when I was probably 21, I remember watching Jewish family. There was a Jewish Holocaust memorial in Luton Town Centre, and I remember I was in town, and I remember seeing all these bearded idiots come running across, screaming with megaphones. And I remember watching this Jewish family have to run, and they all had to lock themselves inside Luton Town Hall. One of the children was probably about 5 years old, screaming, crying, and terrified. So these are stories, these are things I've seen. Go on YouTube now and put in Luton Gaza war protest. You will see thousands and thousands of Muslims marching through my town centre, many of them wearing balaclavas, faces masks, and they're shouting Karaba, Karaba. If you translate what they're shouting about when Muhammad butchered and beheaded all the Jews, and that it's going to happen again. And Israel, you're going to get it, yeah? That's what you'll see. And so these are things I've seen and experienced. So all I've experienced is hatred against Jews. I'll tell you another experience. I remember when we were young kids going out to... There's a Jewish covenant in the middle of the woods, miles out of Luton. And we've all gone out there as kids. And I didn't know what a Jew was, I didn't know what an Orthodox Jew was, but we were just being kids and throwing things and just tearing up. And I remember my friends, one of my mates at the time, started launching things and going mad, yeah, saying my mum would be so proud. Yeah? And I remember thinking, fuck, my mum would kill me if she knows what I was up to, just being a little tearaway. And he was a Muslim, lads, yeah? And his mum would be so proud because he was attacking the Jewish covenant. And it's like, what? What do you mean your mum would be proud? Who says a mum would be proud of that? So so many learning experiences over the years was just about the hatred towards Jews. Any Jew I've ever met has been brilliant. He's been a really nice, decent person. I don't know if there's any Jewish gangs going around grooming and raping young English girls, are there? No. Are there any Jewish men with street gangs selling heroin? No. How many Jews are in prison for crime? None. Yeah? Is there really... I mean, what is the problem? I don't understand it. And do the Jews deserve a homeland? That's what I always think. This is the way I think of it. I think, well, if my race were persecuted in the way that they were, if they were butchered and nearly wiped off the face of the planet just for their beliefs, would I take any shit? No, I wouldn't. Do they deserve a homeland? If you've got 52 Muslim homelands, why can't you have one Jewish one? I went to Israel to experience this and find out about the JQ. I wouldn't say it's the JQ. And I found a beautiful country with beautiful people. And of course problems, and of course a history of problems. And in war there will be problems and wrongs on both sides. But I also went and spent time in a refugee camp, a Palestinian refugee camp. When I did it, I went away against any advice from everyone, including my mate I went with. And I paid young Arabs to take us where we weren't meant to go. And I remember going into this refugee camp, and it was a Fatah-controlled, so terrorist-controlled refugee camp. And I spent the day there. And I spent the day talking to the refugees and talking to the children, who are 3rd and 4th generation refugees. And as a dad, my heart felt for them, yeah? And it works, because I walked out of there feeling, I want to help those kids, yeah? But the refugee lad who I met, who I'm really related with as well, is probably my age. and he's a 4th generation refugee. He said that Palestine has had 3 times as much money, roughly, as Germany had to recover and rebuild after the war. And they still haven't even got a football pitch in their refugee camps. And do you know why, he said? And I asked him, you can watch his interview, it's on YouTube. I said to him, who is oppressing you? Yeah? And I expected the answer, Israel. Yeah? And he said, the Palestinian Authority. I said, what? He said, yeah, what they do is, and this comes from our British taxpayers' money, what they do is everyone who kills a Jew or an Israeli, yeah, they get the equivalent of, say, £2,000 a month for the rest of their life. So if you're, and when I thought about it, it really hit me, because I'm on this refugee camp, I've got 3 kids, I'm looking at all these children who've got nothing, not even a park or football pitch. When you talk about what leads people to extremism in the UK, they say boredom, poverty. Fucking hell, you're looking at it there, yeah? And I'm seeing all these families, and I'm thinking, as a father, I try to do what's best for my kids, and everyone does. And I'd want what's best for my kids, and is killing someone and getting a lifetime of money to get them out of that situation, is that is that a motivation? Do you even need a religious motivation when you're basically hiring mercenaries, which is what the Palestinian Authority are doing? The Palestinian Authority are getting taxpayers' British money to do that, to pay that. It's insane. And another thing he said to me, again, you can watch on the video, do not give any money to Free Palestine. He said, because all the money goes to Hamas, all the money goes to extremism, all the money goes to terrorism. Insane. Everything I thought I knew about Israel. Another thing, when I was there, you can watch this video as well. I'll put it up when I finish this. Oh God, I fucking rant on, don't I? But I'll put it up when I finish this. I'm walking through, I've come out of an area I'm not supposed to be in, yeah? And I've seen about 1,000 Muslims in a desert, and all sand going everywhere. And I've just said, take us over there, yeah? You've got to watch this video. And they take us over there, and I get out of the car, and they're everywhere, and they're racing camels. And I see some of them with machine guns, and I walk into the middle of all of them. And then guess what I'm wearing? I'm wearing a bright blue t-shirt with a Star of David right across the middle that says Israel. And I'm videoing it saying, this could go very fucking wrong, yeah? And not one of them batted an eyelid. Even when I went up and spoke to them, when I asked for a translator, an Arab kid who was with us, I asked him to ask them their opinion of Donald Trump. And do you know what they said? Because Donald Trump had got elected that day. They said, yes, strong leader. We need strong leader in the world. And I'm like, what? And everything I thought I knew was different. And another Muslim, all the Arabs I met in Israel, I asked them, I wanted to know, what's your opinion of Israel? They loved it. The Muslims that lived in Israel loved it. And you know what one of them said? He said, where do you think? And he looked at me like I was an idiot. He said, where do you think I want to live? In Syria, in Iraq? He said, you see what's happening? He said, I can wake up here, I can go to my mosque, I have the freedom of my religion. That's Israel. That's what I saw. I also saw a problem with, I'd say, a level of arrogance from some of the Orthodox Jews. But in general, it was a fascinating country. It was one of the best trips of my life. That's my answer to the Jewish question. If you blame everything, including the bad weather, on Zionism, you're a knob. Proper knob. If you blame absolutely everything, that's all over here. And I used to banter about it. I wore a badge saying I'm a Zionist. That was basically for Nick Griffin. Just because all I ever heard of Nick Griffin was about, I work for the Jews. I fucking wish I did. He's getting funded by Zionists. I wish they were. There's only Zionists out there watching this. You like that speech? I'll give him a PayPal account. You just send it over. Because, no, that's the Jewish question. Jews are now being persecuted. Israel Shalom, we're going to have a documentary coming out soon on a Jew who's persecuted to death. And when you see the story of this, it'll be on Rebel Media. When you see this, when you hear the story, it's unbelievable. You wouldn't believe it. At the same time, so this week in Paris, there's a court case. 28 Muslims call themselves the barbarians. 28 of them are on trial for kidnapping a Jewish man off the street, holding him for 3 weeks and torturing him to death. 3 weeks they had him. 3 weeks alive still. You wouldn't think that's happening in Europe, would you? No one would think that's happening. That's happening. The police couldn't find the man for 3 weeks. They had him in basements and in different places in their ghettos. It's real. It's happening.
Do you ever think there'll be a boy who can swim faster than a shark?
Eric, what was his name? The black dude in the Olympics.
This is Pat Ruffy.
Great question, Pat. No.
Tommy, this is scary. Don't spout any more rubbish unless you become unrelevant like previous years. This is from Dylan.
That shut me up. Stop. Turn the live stream off.
Have we seen anything from Andy O'Brien?
It's Andy O'Brien, can't it? The Irish geezer.
There's over.
Do you know what I like about?
Let's have a look. If Andy O'Brien is here, can he message now? Because I've had to scroll up to the top. There's literally thousands of messages.
Yeah, Andy, if you're there, get involved.
Let's have a look. Let's wait for Andy to speak.
If there's anyone out there, nah, forget it.
Anyone? Oh,
Nah, forget it.
no. Doesn't seem to be much. He's not replying.
Who, Andy?
Yeah. Someone said you need to get some friends.
Some friends.
Yeah.
I know. I need to grow a little bit as well. I need to lose a bit of weight. There's loads of things I need to do. But
I'll tell you when he comes up. I'm going to keep an eye. What's your views on the white helmets anyway?
white helmets are, I believe, linked to terrorism. They are like, yeah, they're arseholes.
Do you think there can ever be a boy band who can swim faster than a shark? Ian Warren says, "You're the serpent who guards the gates of hell."
Isn't it a dog that guards?
Guilty.
A three-headed dog.
Guilty, yeah. That's me. I am the worst and most dangerous man in Britain, and all the Muslims, you know, the 3,500 that security services watching 24 hours a day because they want to kill us and murder us. They're sound.
Tom Graham says, "Oh, well, tell us how much you spent on the new Jewish documentary. Roughly £42,000. Israel.
Is that what he's asking?
Yeah.
Haven't spent anything, have we?
£42,000.
No, it's
42,000.
Zionists.
Oh, right. So I'll tell you what happened. So 4 years ago when I met this Jewish lad, which is the film, the evidence we've got, he told me the stories, horrific stories about the torture and things he's gone through. And before he died, he contacted me and sent me and I've got all copies of all of this. He said he's coming to the end of his time and he's told his family what to do upon his death. And then when he died, I was contacted by a member of his family. And they gave me a key to his house. And I went, oh, I've gone the wrong way, I've just gone the wrong way.
Oh my god.
Fucking hell, Tom.
And he gave me a key to his house, and when I went to his house, he'd left all paperwork and evidence of what he's been through. There's in excess of hundreds of attacks against him, burned out of his home. In fact, when you hear what he went through, it's unbelievable. And copies of all the letters to the police begging for help, and he was left. So what's it cost? It's cost nothing. We spent one day in Aberdeen where we went to meet with his family. We're meeting with other family members and friends to get their take on what's happened and how this has happened in modern Britain. We always hear the thing you hear, never again, never again. One of the men that he wrote to time and time again begging for help about what was happening to him, actually stood on Holocaust Memorial Day and said never again, scumbag, whilst leaving a man to be persecuted to death. So we haven't spent much money, but if you don't like the truth, then you want to tell lies and say the Zionists paid millions for this documentary, whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's what you do anyway, isn't it?
Will there ever be a Jew that can swim faster than a shark?
Yeah, definitely. That's a defo.
What's your biggest disappointment?
Biggest disappointment? My height. Currently my weight.
No fucking
Let me just see. A sec. Keep your
Well,
eyes
this
on
has
the
passed the time loads, isn't it?
Yeah.
Been going nearly what, an hour?
How should I react in class when my teacher says Sharia law is peaceful? That's from Garrett Jones.
Tell me and I'll come and troll watch her. Just contact me and I'll be up your school, walking in her class, on camera. Do you know what I had the other day? I had a 14-year-old boy messaging me. A 14-year-old boy died messaging me saying that what he'd said at school, and he's now suffering from mental health issues. When I read it, man, I was nearly in tears reading his story. He said at school that Islam is a backward and violent fascist ideology. And because of that, he was put on the prevent scheme. So then he had what he would describe as looking like police officers coming to sit him down and talk to him and go through his views. And all of this, what this has done, and challenge him, what this has done has caused him, he said, mental health and suffering. And he's scared. Now, if our school children are observant enough to recognise facts and truth, in amongst all their bullshit and lies as they're being taught, that Islam is a fascist violent ideology, because that's just factual, that's actually factual, proven, then what's he being punished for? Why are we punishing our youth and our children for telling the truth? That's what's happening. I don't know what question that was answering, it wasn't really, was it?
Martin Guy says, could an email address ever be born that could swim faster than a shark?
But cheers, man.
What do you think of the pedestrianisation of Norwich city centre?
Of what, Norwich?
Pardon?
Has Norwich got a city centre?
Yeah, it does apparently. Are you going to be in Leeds when Muslim paedophiles are in court?
Yes.
Yes, I am, and part of the reason why is as well, when I walked out of that court that day, I don't know if I've uploaded this video properly yet, but there was a Muslim solicitor with them, and she said, oh, great turnout, Tommy, well done, yeah, really good turnout. I said, what are you talking about? I've come here on my own, just come here to report on what's happening. And she goes, oh yeah, well done. I said, they've raped kids. She goes, wow, so what? So I'm going to go to the court case, I'm going to find out who she is, and I'm going to walk into her office and get her on camera. She's going to be 12 this year. And I think that what's happening, 28 men, there's 17 men in court tomorrow in Oxford for exactly the same, raping young English kids. There's 25 men coming up in Halifax. I think there's 30 odd in Newcastle. There are these cases going on across the whole country. Now, the mainstream media seem to have dropped them, the national stories. Well, they won't keep them off the local news, they're on the local news. But surely if 28 Englishmen had gang raped 120 young Muslim children, I reckon the BBC would be reporting it, don't you? I reckon so. So if they're not going to report it, what you can now be assured is that rebel media will be outside the case, bringing you, confronting them and challenging them and their families if they turn up, about the sick, perverted and what their justification is for what they've put their children through, and the racism and the hate that they've put against the children based on their religious beliefs.
So we've had people ask where Britain is going to be in 5 years, in 10 years. Someone's asked how Britain is going to look in 100,000 years.
100,000.
Yeah.
What do you expect me?
They're just being silly. What's worse, cheating medical science or cheating friends? I don't know what that makes sense.
I wouldn't even ask any of those shit ones.
No, that's being silly.
Boring. And if that's it, we've been on for ages, haven't we? Unless there's any.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot coming through, but this seems to be getting a bit silly. What would you like to say?
Wenger out. For those of you thinking that. Wenger in or out.
50,000 British Muslims last year. 50,000 British Muslims downloaded a terrorist manual in our country. 50,000, not 10, not 20, 50,000.
By dramatically melting all the ice, raising sea level.